to NAMM 2016. We're here on the Sonor booth today. Mike, what brings us here?
As you can see, look at the excitement on this booth, and we've got some great video contents at this show. We've got not only a great interview with Jojo Mayer, we also talked to the new stickman from Journey, and a new artist has just come over, or back to Sonor, Nicko McBrain, and also we've also got a Through the Keyhole. Who's this guy? Through the Keyhole with, you'll have to find out. Can I help you?
No.
As you can see by the long queue here, they're only here to see one person, which is Nicko McBrain, which after over 20 years, he's recently returned to Sonor Drums. Mike went and caught up with him to find out more.
Nicko.
Dear Michael.
Thank you for inviting me to your, state-of-the-art penthouse suite
Fantastic.
at the Hilton.
Only the best for you, mate.
I know, I do appreciate that. So you're back with Sonor.
Yes.
Now, what originally drew you to this product?
Oh, let's see, 1965, around that period of time in my life, I picked up the drums from watching Joe Morell on telly, and I thought that he inspired me to. That's what I wanted to do. Around 1965, I had got really into my playing on pots and pans. Mum and Dad bought me a small drum kit. By the end of '66, I had a part-time job at my uncle's fish shop, and I was making a little bit of money and pocket money and stuff. And I wanted to buy my own drum set, and I found a Sonor drum set being sold for £100 in Enfield, North London. Yeah. So my dad got on the telephone and took me out to this pub, which was great at that age. Yeah. And I saw this beautiful Sonor drum set, and I paid £100 for it.
Wow.
And basically my father paid for it, and I paid him back. And that was the beginning of my love affair with Sonor. And then a few years later, I went out and I wanted originally buy a super classic Ludwig, which was really my inspiration from Ringo Starr. Yeah. And I then went out and bought another drum set after the Sonor kit, which was a George Hayman, which I've still got, by the way. And the Sonor drum kit is now actually in his museum. Okay. But having said that, I kind of switched. There was a period when from buying my first Sonor drum kit, then I went with the Hayman drum kit. And then when I joined Pat Travers in '76, Pat said to me, "You need a big drum kit." And I went, "Do I?" He says, "Yeah, I want you to get a big F-off drum kit." He said, 2 bass drums. I said, 2 bass drums? You having a laugh? So I said, I know exactly what I want. And I've been going up to Berry's Music Shop regularly in Haringey, Green Lanes. They had a nice drum department. A guy called Richard Hudson used to work there. Okay. From Hudson Ford. Yeah. Well, anyway, he used to get all the catalogues and brochures. And at that time, in '75, Sonor launched the XK series drum sets, which were, this particular kit was a Phonic Plus concert kit. 2 bass drums, silver, metal rimmed bass drum hoops. And I saw this, I said to the guy, "Give me a Sonor brochure." And right in the middle of this brochure was this F-off 12-piece Sonor phonic kit. Well, it's I
remember that brochure.
Yeah, XK9212, yeah. I even remember the number of it. And I went, "That's the kit I'm going to buy." So I ordered it, and I remember prior to ordering it, do you want to hear my story? Yeah. This is great. So I managed to get hold of Horst Link on the telephone. So how I got through to him, it was anybody's guess, but I finally got hold of him. I said, "Mr. Link, hi, my name's Nicko McBrain. I'm playing with an absolute phenomenal guitar player, a guy called Pat Travers. He's a Canadian guy." "Yeah, so." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, I'm upgrading my drum kit, and I want to buy the XK9212 kit." I said, "Would you give me one? Can I get an endorsement?" Yeah. And he said, "Oh, no, absolutely not." He says, "Do Rolls-Royce give their cars away?" Yeah. Honestly, that is exactly what he said to me. And I think the branding later on was the Rolls of drums. And that was my first introduction to the Link family through this phone call. So I went back to the band, to Pat and the management. I said, "Look, you buy this drum kit, you can pay me out my residuals for the album Making Magic." So although Making Magic was performed on my Hayman. So moving into the 70s now, I've sort of settled into a kind of a number 2 deal with Sonor, where I had a kind of deal through the back door, through the distributor, Gordon Williamson. And as I went through, I kept my Sonor drum kit. I ended up going out on tour with Trust, and I used my Phonic concert kit. And then when Maiden came, the job with Maiden, I then went back with Sonor and said, look, now I've kind of upgraded my band status, if you like, and I'm playing with one of the top bands coming out of England in the early 80s. And that was really when Karl and I started to really communicate together. And then our relationship just blossomed from there. When I first met Karl was actually research and development. And so he was real hands-on to the production of the drums and the, you know, his innovations, whereas now he's kind of running, it's his deal. But we had a great relationship. I brought a couple of different drummers into the family, but I was really, really at home for those 17 years I spent with Sonor. And then, of course, things changed when I became really ensconced within the Link family. It wasn't just drummer-artist, you know, company relationship. It was a real family, like my family relationship with Peisty. But when the family decided to sell the company in the early 90s, I didn't want to change, but it was one of these situations where the Link family had gone. Karl was still with the company, but it was very different. Things were very different in the early 90s within the family and the Sonor. So I phoned her, I spoke with Karl, and I said, mate, you know, you can have your drum set back. I'm going to have to leave and go somewhere else. And it's almost a quarter of a century ago now.
So let's fast forward to now. So today is the announcement that you've come back to Sonor Drums and you've got a new drum kit. So can I see this new drum kit?
No.
Why not?
Well, you can't. I mean, you can come out on February 24th, Fort Lauderdale, BB&T Centre, the first Iron Maiden's gig of the first, you know, Book of Souls World Tour. You can come out and see it then. Okay.
You can take me to your restaurant. We'll have something to eat first.
Of course we go to the restaurant first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything special about this kit, or is it all?
Oh, everything is absolutely special about this drum set. It's okay. It's the SQ2 medium shell, which is the 9-ply Beechwood, which was my favourite weapon of choice within the Sonor family. Obviously, you know, they had the Signature series, which was a 12-ply shell. The artworks, the graphics on it are absolutely phenomenal. It's a wrap. We did a wrap on it, which I did get done off-site with Greenshires in England, who used to do my other wraps from in past tours. So we decided on the design of the drum set. It is gold, and that's all I'm going to say.
Well, I look forward.
It's not real gold, because Karl would have had a fit if I'd have, you know. But maybe, boys, because you're wondering why I'm looking off camera. Karl is sitting over in the corner fuming at me at the moment. Going, whoo! No, but
well, we can edit this.
It is super special. I mean, not just the fact that the drums, they've always made the best drums in the world in my book. They still do. Hardware's always been issues with drum companies. They're competitive about what this does and what that does, how the drum's held together and all this business. But we've come up with this fantastic package on the hardware, which is, you know, because my 4 toms on my left side, we used to have to build special extension poles
to get it up
for the height, because I'm an anal twat because I have it too high. I can't come down because I'd have to move my hat, and it's all dictated just by that one.
Change it now?
Just the one instrument on my drum set. Everything else has to go up here. You know, why change now? So and obviously the quality and the love and care that's gone into this drum set. It surpasses anything. I mean, I am truly blessed to have this, to be back with the company.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mike and Nicko. Now, who lives in a house like this?
So this Sonor artist likes coffee and has recently been to Japan. They're a Zildjian artist, and they like weird and wonderful Zildjian musical instruments. Also, in their toilet, they have Modern Drummer awards they've won. They have exclusive shoes they like to play in. And their father was a trumpet player. And they like production. So who lives in a house like this?
Hi, I'm Gavin Harrison and welcome to my studio. I've been playing Sonor drums for 15 years actually this year. And why do I play them? I think, I've always had an ideal drum sound in my head, let's say, since I was about 18, based on the people I was listening to. And of all the drum kits I've played, I can come the closest to consistently getting that sound from Sonor Drums. I've played a lot of drum sets in my life and I've owned a lot of drum sets, but the Sonor Drums are the closest to the ideal sound I've got in my head, and they're consistent in the way that I must have, in the last 15 years, I must have played over 100 Sonor sets. When I do drum clinics, etc., quite often there's a brand new drum set every day, and I've never played a bad one. I've always, within an hour or two of getting a brand new drum set out, I've managed to get the sound that I want and the sound that I associate with me. I like very melodic tom sounds. Obviously part of it is choosing Remo skins and the way you hit the drums and the way you tune them, but there is a lot actually in the shell, the technology they use, and they just build really great shells. A couple of years ago, Sonor invited me to design a signature snare drum, and it was actually quite an easy thing to do because I'd spent many years trying to find the right sort of drum that gives me the right kind of sound. Growing up listening to Steve Gadd and Jeff Porcaro and Harvey Mason and those kind of guys, I knew I wanted a drum that could give me a fat backbeat sound but without being a deep drum, because I've played a lot of deep drums and you can get a fantastic fat backbeat sound, but you lose a lot of articulation with the deeper drums. So this is actually 5 1/4 inches deep. It's a birch drum, which always sound good to my ears. I wanted to go with the retro lugs. I like the long lugs, the long lugs because they evens out the tension on the top head and the bottom head. Probably the snare drums, the drum I would tune up the most out of all the drums in terms of tension, and it takes all the tension off the shell by pulling in both directions at the same time.
Well, thank you so much for that, Gavin. Now, let's go see if we can find Mike and Steve again.
Okay, as you can see...
I'm not going to play. We're just doing an interview.
No sticks.
No, I'm not going to play.
There's no playing. No playing. Okay, so I'm here with Steve Smith, who's been with Sonor for many years. Steve, how long have you been playing Sonor drums and why?
Well, Mike, I'm coming up on the 40th anniversary. Next year, 2017, will be the 40th year. So I started in January 1977. And back when I was a student at Berkeley, 2 of my favorite drummers played Sonor drums, Bernard Purdy and Jack DeJohnette. And I loved the sound of the instrument, loved the quality. So when I was playing with Jean-Luc Ponty back in 76 and 77, Jean-Luc asked me, would you buy a big double bass drum set? Because I had a little jazz kit. And I said yes, and basically then went to the Sonor dealer locally in Boston and bought a gigantic double bass, 2 24-inch kicks, 3 rack toms, 2 big floor toms. And that was the beginning of my association with Sonor. By 1980, I had come to Europe, met Oliver Link at the time. His father owned Sonor Drums and became an endorser. So I've officially been with Sonor for 39 years, going on 40 years.
Well, also this is a big year for you. We can now talk about it. You're going back out with Journey. 2-year tour. So the most important thing I want to ask you about here is, will you be going back to the same configuration drum kit that you had back in the day?
I'll be going back to a double bass configuration similar to what I had back in the late 70s, early 80s. I had two 24-inch bass drums and various configurations of tom, rack toms and floor toms. But what I've come up with is somewhat of a hybrid of, the double bass configuration mixed in with what I've been using for the last 10 or 15 years. So I really like the 8, 10, 12-inch rack toms. So I ordered a kit with 8, 10, and 12, and then 14, 16, and 18-inch floor toms. So the three floor toms. And then for the bass drums, I love the sound of these vintage bass drums. So I ordered two 22 by 14-inch vintage bass drums because they have a beautiful, deep, rich sound. So it'll be the two basically beach vintage bass drums. The toms will be maple, so more like SQ2 you'd say. And then I'm going to have 3 snare drums because I want to have a variety of sound. So I've actually come up with what will become the 40th anniversary Steve Smith snare drum. So it's like this vintage snare drum, which, I don't know if this particular one, but 5 3/4-inch beach drum with the vintage bearing edge, 8 lugs, but it'll be modern lugs, modern throw off, this same rim, but in black chrome.
Wow.
So it'll be a beautiful, and the finish that I ordered is a white lacquer with black chrome hardware. Then I'll have my metal Steve Smith signature drum is a detuned 5.5 by 14, and then a matching 12 by 5-inch higher pitched side snare. So I'll have a variety of different snare sounds for the different tunes, different parts of the tunes.
Well, I'm personally really looking forward to seeing you back out with Sonor Drums. As you know, even though you're with me, I've always been a fan of your playing. I know you work really hard. Are you going to be practicing that to get back into that rock playing?
Absolutely. I'm already working on the music and getting refamiliarizing myself with the tunes. I haven't played these songs in 30 years, so I actually forgot everything I played. So I've written charts. I had to go back to how I approach any gig, which is I get the music, I write the charts, and then I memorize the details of what I played, and then it'll be updated with how I'm playing now. The other thing I'm really looking forward to, equipment-wise, and excited about, is I'm using the new Avidus line of Zildjian cymbals, because they are so much like the cymbals that I had in the 60s. And so, I'm working on the configuration, but most likely it'll be a 22-inch ride, probably a 20 or 21-inch ride over here, 19-inch crash, maybe 2 18-inch crashes, probably that new Peter Erskine design slash cymbal here, 14 hats, maybe 16-inch X hats. I was just trying those 16-inch hats, which are amazing. Probably use them as an X hat over there. And, but I'm still working that out. And also I'll have to get into rehearsal and into the performances and make adjustments as it goes to see what works and to see what sounds right.
Well, thank you for your time. We've actually got quite a bit of a crowd waiting for you to play the drums now, and then they're going to be disappointed in a minute.
No, but you're going to play. See, they're actually here
waiting for you
to see if you really play the drums. They know
you walk off. Okay, thanks very much.
Recently, Mike caught up with Karl-Heinz with Nicko. Let's go back to him now.
Karl-Heinz, thank you for joining us. And it's nice that Nicko's invited us both now to his penthouse suite. What's it like? I mean, you've got a relationship with Nicko from a long time ago, as Nicko's told us. What's it like to have Nicko back with the family?
The thing was, if I have to be honest, I will be honest. When Nicko came back last year, September, we sit together. I mean, I never had the feeling he was away, even if it was more than 20 years. I think 22 years now.
20 odd years, yeah.
But I think it's important to say that I'm able to divide you know, friendship, business. And that's why at these days when it was happened when you decided to go somewhere, I fully understood. I understood absolutely, because I mean this is a business issue, you know, and during all the time, you know, it was never like hating each other or fighting against each other. All the time we kept our friendship.
Yes.
We met each other on different locations and whatever, you know, and we kept the friendship. And as you told me later on, when you came back to have another decision, your first idea was, hey, call Karl, and I was very proud about this, you know, because the friendship pay off, you know.
Yeah.
And so for me it was definitely not a question to say no or to say no. For me it was like, again, you was never away.
Yeah.
We ever have been together. We ever kept our friendship, and this is important.
One of the things I'm impressed about, I mean, I've got a lot of good friends who are Sonor artists. And you really do listen to your artists.
Absolutely.
They are very involved in. Is this important to the company? Is this something you think about?
Sure. I mean, we're working together with a number of good drummers and endorsers around the world, you know, and we need their input, you know. I mean, sure, we try to be creative on our side, but the input coming from these guys, you know, because they're working with the stuff every day. And so I remember even the days when Steve Gadd was with you, you know.
Geezer Gadd.
God
bless his
God
heart.
bless him, And I mean, we were always on the phone, you know, and he said, Nicko mentioned this, can you change this, can you improve this, you know? And this is the way it works, you know, until today, you know. I mean, having an endorsement or setting up an endorsement contract is not just giving, it's also taking. Sorry to tell you, you know. But
this is a two-way street.
It's a two-way thing,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know, we sat down and discussed the, you know, as Karl said, when I went to Bad Burleberg now, to the factory, Bad Burlebergy, we were sitting in the conference office, and it didn't feel like it was over 20 years. It felt so right, and I obviously was feeling a little humbled because I'm coming back to my main love. And feeling like I'm with my cap in my hand, you know, and which I was, you know, I was drumless. I didn't have a drum company, and I've got this massive big tour we're embarking upon, and you know, so there was a mixed emotion for me sitting in that office, because it was like I felt like I hadn't left, and that's over 2 decades ago when I was last there, But when we sat down and we talked over the endorsement side, you know, what my commitments to the company would be, which is pretty much what they were from 1976 onwards. I mean, we used to utilise each other. That Sonor would use me for drum clinics or drum shows, I call them. I'm not really a clinician, but, you know. So everything was there. And Karl said, so what kind of drum set do you need? I said, exactly what it was when I was here last.
Same
size. Then I think the first thing Karl said was, I don't think we can do a 6x6 tom-tom for you. And I said, oh dear. And he said, we could do a 6x8 though. And I went, that'll do. You know? So there's no compromise. There was no compromise at all. And then my big ask was for the particular finish on this drum set, which was a really big ask. And to be very honest with you, I've seen photographs of bits of the drum set, and I think the guys have got the drop on me who built the drum set, because they obviously saw it when it was all finished. And I had a story that Tomas told me about a couple of the older generation guys that's still building these drums in the factory there. They've said that this was the best drum set they feel that they've ever built.
Oh, wow.
And to have that respect
expertise
from these guys that have built the drums, you know, we know how good they're going to sound, without a doubt. But the visual side of this drum set is it's the wow factor. I mean, I'd love to tell you more about it. We decided that we leave it to the reveal of the whole stage set, because it's so integral to the whole story of the Book of Souls. But the chemistry we had was never lost, and our friendships it was always stronger over these last 20 plus years. And so to be brought back into the fold as though I'd never left, there's a big ask, because there's been drummers like Steve and Jojo and Jack and all these guys, and who have been with the company, and Mickey D, you know, and then Nicko comes strolling in and they go, would you done that kit for him? You having a laugh? You know? It's very, very super special for me.
Yeah.
And I really feel humbled, but at the same time, I'm elated to be back and wearing this shirt, which was actually Carl's. I stole it from him last year.
Karl,
Right.
I'd like to ask you a final question, but I'd like to ask you a question about the industry.
Yeah.
And so the industry's changing rapidly. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be able to sell as many drum kits as we used to within the industry.
Right.
I personally feel there's a lot more drummers out there, but maybe they've gone to electronic kits. As a company, do you find how have you adjusted here? Do you find first of all, do you find there's a market still for the top end drums?
Yeah. The thing is, you know, especially during the last year, 2015, we started to set up a completely new organization within the company, facing the industry, facing the things you mentioned before. It's getting harder. Is right. The number of drum sets sold worldwide shrinking. A number of my colleagues, they are in the acoustic drum business, you know, they're blaming the digital drum industry, saying, okay, they steal our drummers away. I think different, or we think different, because I think if digital drums would not be available at these days, like 20 or 30 years ago, how could guys living in the big city, living in an apartment and so on, how can they learn how to play drums? So it's good that the digital drum business, the digital drums are available. So they can learn about it without making the noise, you know. And this is a very important thing. And if you look further, you know, I know hundreds of people, you know, drummers playing digital drums. But if they go to a certain stage, you know, going out, you know, playing with the band, how many digital drums you see on stages, you know, on live concerts? Not that many. I mean, they're all supported by pickups and I don't know, you know, sound samples and stuff like that. It's okay, you know. But if they really go out, if they really go semi-professional, professional, they usually switching to acoustic drums, and that's why I always say the digital drum industry, they create the acoustic drummers for tomorrow for us, you know. And so for me, it's not like fighting against them. So it's the other way around, you know. We even cooperate. For example, we have a good relationship and cooperation with Roland. You know, they're doing pickups and all this kind of stuff. And if you look at the advertising of Roland electronic kits, you will see Sonor, you know, because we're cooperating. And this is important. So what I mentioned before, last year we started to change the organization within the company. Because, I mean, we have a 141 years history now. And during this time, a lot of decisions has to be made, you know, because the world is changing, the markets are changing, the music is changing, and so on, you know. And for example, 1997, we made the decision because the reason we made the decision to go to China with some of our drums, you know, with some of the mid and low-end drums. The reason for this was at 97 that our market shares, the Sonor market shares around the world was not big. And we said, okay, what can we do to spread out the name, you know? So we have to go down in price, you know, this famous pyramid, you know? If you go down, you know,
you spread.
You have the bigger numbers. If you go up, smaller numbers, and so on. So we made the decision at 97 to make set up a cooperation in China. And we created drums especially for this production. And you probably remember the Force series, Sonor Force series, you know. The first generations of Sonor Force series has been made in Germany. But then over the years, like 6-7 years, you know, over the years, the situation came up that more and more Chinese or Far East drum manufacturers flooding to the market, you know, the prices went down. And so we were not competitive anymore with our 4 series. And so we stopped, like 94, we stopped manufacturing the 4 series in Germany. And then we made the decision to set up a cooperation with the Chinese factory. And so what we did is we moved all the molds and jigs we still had, we moved it to China and we started building the first made in China 4th generation there, you know. And okay, what I said, at these days, this decision was okay because you want to spread out the name. And since we started there, we sold more than 500,000 drum sets around the world. I mean, it's a good number.
Yeah, very good.
You know, and so the Sonor name is in rehearsal rooms, on stages, in music schools, and I don't know, you know. And so I will say we hit the goal.
Yeah.
We hit the goal, selling more than 500,000 drum sets in these lower price classes and so on. This was a kind of success story, you know. But now the world is changing again because compared to 1997, we have probably another 50 drum manufacturers additional, you know. And if you go to the Shanghai show, you know, you see like, I think last time it was 53 drum companies, you know. And we call it, basically what we say is, you know, all these low-end drum sets, you know, everybody is fighting, you know, and for market shares and stuff like this. And the end of the result is no money. No matter, everybody is fighting. Everybody investing in marketing. Everybody is investing in advertising and all this kind of stuff. You know, but the margins, you know, going down and down and down. So we're moving a lot of numbers, but at the end of the day, you know, in the pocket,
Pocket's not
nothing,
the pocket's
nothing
moving
left. You know,
in deflation.
absolutely.
That's what you want it to
absolutely,
go.
you know. And that's why we made last year the decision. We want to refocus on our stuff what we can. We cannot be, I mean, being a German company, you know, we cannot be the market leader in volume and being at the same time the market leader in quality, you know. This is not possible. You know, and so we make the decision now, and this is what we did last night. Last night we had the international distributor meeting here in Anaheim. We had 40 countries in the same room, and so we announced to them our future strategy, you know, and we are going to focus on high end, we are going to focus on quality, we are going to focus on our made in Germany products.
How long have you been a Sonor artist?
Ooh, I think it's close to 30 years. I think 1986 or 87, something like that.
Okay, and what drove you towards Sonor Drums?
Well, in the 80s, Sonor, without a doubt, was like the leading name in drums. I think Sonor really paved the way for boutique drums. You know, with the Sonor signature, they changed the game. So Sonor was really the big name in drums, and I was reaching out for it. And also Sonor was kind of like a proximity, being Swiss. They were a German company, or are a German company, and last but not least, they offered me an endorsement deal. So they took me on board at a very early time in my career.
What made you stay with Sonor Drums?
Well, it's the quality, you know, it's the sound. It's Sonor is probably one of the few brands that it really has a distinctive, recognizable signature sound, very distinctive, and a signature feel. Well, they've been also looking out for me, you know. I mean, they're like they're a family.
And finally, what's your favorite Sonor product?
Well, that's my perfect balance bass drum pedal, which I designed in a collaborative, you know, project with Sonor.
And how long did it take you to
Well, the basic idea for the Sonor pedal, I kind of, you know, the development took maybe about 10 years. And then actually getting the nuts and bolts and actually creating the prototypes and the blueprints, probably about 2.5 years.
Okay, what a lot of fun that was. It was great to meet up with Karl-Heinz and Nicko McBrain, and of course meeting up with my good buddies Jojo Mayer and Steve Smith. Do you want to say goodbye?
I do want to say goodbye. This is NAMM 2016 from the Sonor booth. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy our film. Woo!